nonprofit. We just became a nonprofit last summer, and we kind of run on a shoestring, and your attendance helps support us because when people see a large attendance, they're more willing to become education partners or become sponsors. So it really matters when you come here in person. And for those of you that are watching, streaming online, thank you for tuning in. And those that tune in later, we do record all of the sessions and we make those available on our website and on our Facebook page. Okay, so let's dive right in. I have a few questions, because today is going to be all about senior to senior discussion and asking questions. Think it'll work?
I hope so.
Let's see. Just for fun. Okay, I don't know. Brian, could you go to the next slide? Thank you. And next. Okay, you can hold it there for just a second. All right, so my husband Randy and I, Randy, he's the one that brings in all the chairs and the tables and helps us get set up. And he is a realtor. We both are. That's how all of this started. And when we come out to see your home, if you should invite us to help you evaluate and figure out the equity of your home or the condition of your home or talk about selling now or in the future, we usually come out together and then Randy kind of takes it from there. So Randy is the transition specialist in helping with real estate needs, and so he is phenomenal. He's really fun to work with, and he really helps people get top dollar and make everything work out. So Randy, thank you for being there for us every month and helping us put this on. All right, today is all about senior to senior, learning from each other. So we're gonna just do a little warm up of questions. So by a show of hands, you have two options. How many of you are beach people? Like to go to the beach for vacation? You have to travel a ways. Okay, great. How many prefer the mountains? Very cool. How many of you are kind of homebodies and you just like to stay around home? Okay, quite a few. Very good. All right, we're getting the hang of this. Who prefers Ford over Chevy? So if you're a Ford person, raise your hand. Okay. All right, I've got some enthusiastic, yes. How about Chevy? Okay. Who prefers a foreign car? If it's not a foreign car, I'm not buying it. Okay, very good. All right. No judgment on any of these things. Now we're getting serious. Who are our cat people? Who likes cats? Randy, be quiet. Who's a dog person? All right, who's over pets? I'm just over pets, and I just don't want another one. And we've never had indoor pets, period. Okay. The dog's won, so not unexpected. All right. Places of worship. If you attend places of worship, or you have in the past, do you prefer a big church or a big place of worship? Big or small? A big church? Like Six Flags over Jesus? Or a small church? Ooh, okay, the smaller churches win. All right, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Introverts. How about the extroverts? Okay. And who doesn't even know what that means? All right. Vacation planning. Are you a planner or are you spontaneous? If you're a planner, raise your hand. Okay, very good. Downsize Club, by the way, is for planners, people that want to plan things way in advance. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Who's spontaneous? We don't need reservations. Okay. As we go. Not Randy and I are kind of like that. Do you prefer to fly or drive? Who likes to fly? Okay. Who prefers to drive? Okay, drivers win. All right. So I was going to ask who's Republicans, Democrats, but I decided against that. things are just better left unsaid. All right, feel warm, like we're ready to start participating. Really what I want to show is that there's lots of different opinions in the room. There's lots of different behavior styles and personalities, and it's just about having your own personal choices. And same with budgets and how fancy or not fancy something is. That's all personal preference. And there's no judgment, there's just learning. So we'd like you to be open to learning and to share today and to appreciate the people that share. And if there's something you don't agree with, just let that go and see if there's something that does have some meaning for you that you can hang on to. All right, now I'm gonna give you a little information and then we're gonna hear a story that I think is important. And then we're gonna bring up the senior panel. Who's on the senior panel? Who knows they're gonna come up here to be on the senior panel? Okay, good, we got some people that showed up, that's good. Who would participate and talk about where they live, just didn't care to be up front, that wouldn't have something good to share about where they live? Okay, all right, so we're gonna see what we can do there. So I want you to know, I set, Brian, if you can forward it, please. Downsizers Club. So Downsizers Club, you get a 3-ring binder. It's a course that you can go through. We provide new content every month. And you get a book, and you get a bag. And this is for people that really want to investigate things. Maybe you're thinking about making a move now, or you're in the middle of the move. Thinking about in the future you're going to make a move. Or, I don't ever want to move, but just in case, I want to do my due diligence and get some real good information. Downsizers Club is very different than the seminar because it's just a small, intimate group of people, and there's more interaction. And it just provides you a little bit of a path to follow and also an opportunity to ask a lot of questions and task us with providing more and more information. One of the reasons, let's move forward a slide. We want to thank our education partners. Some of them aren't here today. Comfort Love Senior Care Homes, beautiful place. They just opened and they have their first resident who moved in last night. I went for the celebration dinner. He is going to be so spoiled and he is thrilled to be there. So Becky is there today, spoiling him. And she'll be back next month. Bluestone Communities, do we have anybody from Bluestone today? Yay! Thank you so much for being here. Bluestone just absolutely rocks. So we definitely want to hear from you today. And that's a big part of the conversation because what they have to offer is a continuum of care. We're going to talk a lot about continuum of care today. Mariner Wealth Advisor, she's out of town for training. They're based in just a moment. Cherie, with American Senior Benefits, she helps with Medicare options and any questions you have about health insurance and that. Providence, is Pam Crawford here? Okay, I don't see her. Awesome, Home Health and Hospice. Kiefer, Brian Spears here with Kiefer Senior Care. Brian, thank you. Sedgwick Plaza, I don't think they're here today. Adult Day Services, Catholic Charities, they're just starting up with us. We're very excited about that. They run the Adult Day Center. Beautiful place at 21st and kind of over, it's not 21st, where's that? K96 and kind of Meridian, kind of. And then Oxford Senior Living, we have a group of people from Oxford here today. Okay, let's move forward. So these are the television sponsors. So the others were the seminar sponsors. These are our television sponsors. Bluestone, thank you very much. We're very excited to have you on board with the television show this year. American Senior Benefits, they've supported us every single year. And Sedgwick Plaza, they renewed, and we just signed on a law firm, so they'll be coming next month, hopefully. Next. So that's how we pay for the show. I don't get paid for doing the show. All the money goes directly to PBS, and it's the sponsors that make it possible. So today we're going to talk about no matter where you live or your circumstances, enjoying life today matters. Planning for your future self is vital because what happens to a lot of seniors is they think about retirement a little bit and some things they want to do. Maybe have some pretty good fun, hopefully for 2 or 3 years. And then it's kind of like, now what? And sometimes just living life, being busy, and not necessarily thinking about what happens if. Because we all know there could be something that could happen, but not really a very clear idea, maybe without knowing. Not having a very clear idea of what's next and who are the people that I can go to for answers, who can help us in our home, or where is a place that we might go for rehabilitation so we can get better and go back home, or where would I choose to live if I'm not in my home that I'm in right now. So we're going to get started with our program. First of all, I just want to show you just a few pictures. Beautiful Oxford Villa. And then we have, where's that with Bluestone?
Campus Woods in North Newton.
What is it called, Kansas Woods?
Campus Woods.
Campus Woods in North Newton. Beautiful. Okay, and next. So we have a lot of the senior living communities have really nice theaters. They all have lots of activities we're going to hear about today. You can live in an individual cottage setting. Maybe outside the main building on campus. There's all different types of varieties. And until you go out and start seeing these places, it's hard to imagine. Because some people have a picture in their mind of what retirement living looks like that might not be accurate. KMH has a beautiful new dog park. Most of the communities have some place to exercise. I really want you to think about that a lot. Especially if you're having mobility issues. Bretta on our team, Bretta, where are you? Bretta, come on up here. Bretta on our team will help people, no cost, will help you kind of investigate what might be possibilities for you. And she knows if there's some mobility issues that I'm going to be asking over and over. Please make sure that they consider, because I want you to think about, where am I going to exercise? What type of rehabilitation can I get there? What type of therapy is available? Because we want you to thrive and get better rather than decline. This is all about quality of life, and we want to help you preserve your quality of life so that you can enjoy a lot to come. So thank you very much. And Bretta prepared all this too. I'm going to show you something she did for us. Swimming pools. Some places have swimming pools, some don't. Some that do have swimming pools say that no one uses it. But if you're interested in swimming, be sure to find out about that. I think that would be very cool. All right, we're going to hear from Jamie Bunch. Jamie Bunch from KMH, if you'll come up and share a story. We're going to start with just a little story that I heard, and I asked Jamie to share, because this is why we're being proactive and why we are studying in advance.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for coming. And Catherine, thank you for asking me to speak. How many people in this room have belongings that are very important to them and you'd be devastated if you lost them? I see some hands. Any volunteers to share what any of those items might be?
My parents' flags after they died.
Your parents' flags after they died. Anyone else? Pictures? A lot of people also have furniture or things that have been handed down through generations, and they want to pass those things down to their kids and grandkids, and they also want to hang on to those things because they're really important to them, and bring back really, really great memories. So I would like to share a story with you about a darling couple who moved into independent living at KMH almost a year ago, and what their experience was like. So almost a year ago, they moved from out of state to be closer to family. They owned their home, and they didn't want to worry about cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, worrying about the yard, all of the things that go along with being in your home. So they talked to their family and their adult children who are in their 60s, talked to them about independent living. So they made the decision that they were going to go ahead and make the move to independent living from out of state. So they wanted 6 months to plan ahead of time. And that 6 months gives them time not only with planning on selling their house and getting things that they won't be bringing with them sold or donated, but also mentally preparing for that move, because it is a big, big transition. Well, 2 months later, their children told them that they would be moving in just 2 weeks. Now keep in mind that this couple is of complete sound mind and completely capable of making their own decisions. Their son hired a realtor of his choice without his parents' input. One of the first things the realtor said was that their grass needed to be mowed. And instead of hiring a professional, she showed up with a lawnmower without a grass cutter and mowed the lawn. So, you can imagine what their lawn looked like when she was done. The couple would have rather paid a professional landscaper, but they weren't given the choice. They owned a very nice car that was sold at Blue Book value. They had no input on what they wanted to sell their car for, and the guy who bought it said, "I got a steal." And he did. Their daughter told them that there would not be enough space for them to bring most of the things that they wanted to bring. And that is true when you're downsizing from a house to an apartment. You're not going to be able to bring everything from a 3, 4, 5-bedroom house into a 1, 2, possibly 3-bedroom apartment. But the parents should have had more input on what they wanted to bring. They would have rather maybe made space to not bring this chair so that I can bring these 3 boxes of things that are really important to me. So they weren't given that choice to bring some of the belongings that meant the most to them. So think back to that question that I asked about what you would be devastated to lose in your home or possessions, anything like that. The couple shared with me that they love living at KMH, but their experience prior to moving was devastating because of the way their children handled everything. They felt like they had no power and no choices during the biggest transition of their lives. It was so devastating that they do not want to invite their son to celebrate their dad's birthday. He is in his 90s, and he told me that he plans on telling his son that if he lives to be 100, he'll see him then. So, their experience could have and should have been very different if their family would have understood the importance of their parents being more involved in the planning and if they had more control throughout the process. So I wanted to share that story with you today. I see that there is a variety of ages here today, which is wonderful because some of you may be thinking in the future of transitioning to independent living. Some of you may be here and have parents who are in that transition or even just starting to think about it process. And I just wanted to share so that everyone can understand how important it is for your loved ones to have a say in what is happening in their lives and during such a big transition. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I thought that story was important to hear because it's not uncommon. And the couple was invited to tell the story, but it's too upsetting. It's not something they can talk about without breaking down. And the wife is in therapy over it. It's absolutely devastating. And we're going to hear a few other interesting stories today. I want to tell you a less extreme, that just to kind of give you an idea. I talked to a daughter yesterday. Her parents live in Pennsylvania. Mom is 80, dad is 90. They made a decision to move here to one of the communities represented today. And she said, I don't know why my mom hasn't put her house on the market yet. They've selected a realtor, and the realtor's already taken pictures of the home. And I said, oh my gosh, they should not, whatever they do, put that house on the market yet. Why do you think that is? Some of you that have been here a while, you might know. Why would that be maybe a huge mistake? Charles.
We put our house on the market and it sold in 2 days. We were astonished. Sold in 2 days. If you're not ready to move, don't put it on the market.
Thank you very much. You got to know where you're going to go. And so I'm like, whoa, Mom doesn't need to put her house on the market yet. Now, if there's a case where we have a senior and they don't have any money to make the move yet, we probably have a way to help them with that. But most people have the ability to somehow, some way, make the move and coordinate it exactly the way they want. So a lot of times, things are all planned out and there's a schedule, and the house goes on the market when it's time to do it. And a lot of times we'll get in a contract right away, the move happens, the estate sale happens, and the house closes immediately after the estate sale. That's how you get your money the fastest. Then we have other people that the house is not going to go on the market until after everything is done. If the house is lovely, the way it's furnished and decorated, we probably want to take pictures like this Pennsylvania realtor did, take pictures of it in advance, because we want the pictures to look gorgeous, and the furniture decor helps accomplish that. Plus, when it does go on MLS, even though the house might be vacant, nobody knows that, because when they look at the pictures, they can see from the pictures that somebody's still living there as far as they know. When they get there, they might be surprised that it's empty. But buyers kind of like that too, because they really get a good look at everything. And they know they can move in quickly. They're not worried about if you're going to get out on time, because they know that they could even close in 2 or 3 weeks. No problem. This house is empty and ready to go. So, the mother being 80, dad being 90, 2 daughters plan to travel to go help with packing and moving, which they've never done before. So we've probably all helped or somebody move, or we've moved ourselves in the past, but it's different when you're 80 and 90. It's different when you're 60 or 65. It's way, way different. And having people that are really experienced matters. You can hire a moving truck company. They're just going to put things in boxes. It's all about speed. And so it's going to be a big old mess when you get where you're going, because you're going to have to sort through all that stuff. If you use a professional move manager or a professional organizer, or you and your family really work hard in advance to do that, you can think ahead of time what is going into every box and why, and you're thinking about unpacking in mind. And so it's just going to be a lot less stressful. And for heaven's sakes, you don't want to pay to transport items from Pennsylvania to Wichita, Kansas that you don't really want or need, because it is so expensive. In fact, any furniture that you could just re-buy here, you'd be better off doing that price-wise. So if it's something you really can't part with, maybe you pay to move that. But if you can replace the sofa and a chair, that might be better. You've got to really think about all of these things. And so I explained this to the daughter. I was so glad we just happened to talk, and said, really, I think that's too much for Mom. Really, if you could help her find a move manager in her area, or I can help you, but I gave her the website and I told her what to do and what to ask. Interview 2, 3, or more, and pick out who you think might be the best ones or the best couple, and then have them go meet with Mom. And have them help her through the process, because it's just too much. And a real estate agent, usually they're going to hurry and they're going to go, hot dog, I got a listing. thing, and they're gonna put that on the market right away. And then we have seniors that call us and say, hey, we got our house sold, we heard you're good at helping people move. And we want to have an estate sale, and we have to be out in 31 days. Well, I don't know, we're gonna see if there's something we can do. But first of all, the priority for us are people that participate in our programs, because you're being educated along the way, so it's gonna be easier to work with that client. And we need time. Sometimes we can do things really fast, but it's better if we have time to plan everything. Because when people call and say we've got to be out in 31 days, we have to be out by the end of June, there is no time to do a liquidation sale, and then they're losing thousands of dollars potentially on what they can make on a estate sale. So it's really important to do things in the right order, and you don't put the house on the market until everything else is done. And so that's really, really important. All right, well, let's get started with our, yes?
How much time do you need to get an estate sale plan?
All right, great question. How much time do you need to get an estate sale plan? So the answer to almost everything is it depends. It depends on what's going on at that given moment, what they have to sell, and it depends on all kinds of things. But that's the trickiest part in my mind, because we have everything else handled. The estate sale is tricky because we're very limited on who can help us with an estate sale and how many estate sales we can put on a month. And so we really need as much notice as possible. Sometimes there might only be enough stuff to where we can just put it in a consignment sale for later, and that works really well. So it's really a case-by-case basis, but ideally, if you were talking to us today, maybe you think about scheduling your estate sale for August or September with the idea of, if we're not quite ready, then we will move it back. And the estate sale people are pretty good at working with that, because they usually have somebody else they can slip in. And sometimes you might be the one that can slip in, or we can come up with different options. But the more time in advance we have, the better. So, how did you feel about Jamie's story, the kids coming in and deciding everything? Why did they let him do it? That's what I was wondering. So maybe you think you wouldn't let them do it, and husband and wives together usually will stay in control of everything. Oftentimes when it's a widow, she asks for their help or they come in and take over. I've had so many stories where someone has said, well, I'm real unhappy with my husband because he and his siblings have decided to tell mom she's going to go visit her daughter, and then when they come back, she's going to find out they moved her out of her independent living and they moved her into assisted living. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but personally I don't like that at all, because what are we? We're empowered senior. The television show is empowering seniors. I want you to make all of your decisions, and I want you to be in a place that if you can't make your own decision, that you've already put everything in place so that things happen the way you wanted it to happen. And that's what we're here for, is to help you think about all these things ahead of time so that everyone knows what's supposed to happen. Maybe your financial planner, your elder law attorney, us, your daughter, somebody that you can trust knows what you want and they're going to follow your plan. So if you wake up in an apartment, that they didn't leave the box of stuff that you really wanted, okay? So we want things to happen the way you want it to be. And so that takes planning, because if we don't plan in advance, we could lose our ability to control what happens to us in the future. And if you communicate with your kids and let them know, we're working on this, just so you know. We are taking a course, we're attending seminars, we are going out on appointments and meeting with different people, and we're touring senior living communities, just in case. Let them know that things are under control, that you have a plan. And that helps them because they won't be worried. They are at a different stage of life than you are. So sometimes why kids want to come in and make all the choices, because they don't have patience to work on your time frame, because you're in a time of wanting to stay in control of your life review, saying goodbye to a lot of your past. Maybe you're still looking at, you open up a box and it's the kid's baby clothes or whatever. It takes time to process some of these things. Well, they're under pressure. Maybe they have a commitment to be at the gym every day. Maybe they're taking care of their grandchildren or helping adult kids or having a career. And they are like, come on, let's go, let's get it done. You know, a lot of them are executives and I'm just gonna take care of this. And they can just run right over their parents. And some parents let them do that. And they may or may not be upset. I think I know we're gonna hear a good story today. And if we don't, we'll share it. So let's invite our panel up, if you would come on up. And if you would like to answer questions, what we're going to talk about is why you moved into retirement living, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. That's kind of what we're going to talk about. So come on up. So be careful with these director chairs. And if you feel uncomfortable sitting on it, honey, you just kind of scooch on it. Randy, you want to come up and just make sure we're being good here? And if you don't feel comfortable getting in that chair, we'll pull up the chair. Where would you rather? Oh, that's, yeah, the footstool's gone. I'll let the men come up and help. Okay, you can, maybe, let's have you, he'll fix that. Okay. Okay. Now that's the hardest part about being on the panel, is this seating. Because we're going to take real easy on him, right? All right, we're not going to talk about pricing, because judgment comes in people's mind when they hear pricing, and we don't want you to think, oh, that doesn't sound good, that sounds, you know. So we're not going to talk pricing, that's off the table. If you want to know about pricing, you can talk to the senior living community representatives that are in here, or talk to us and we'll help you gather that information. All right, are you feeling all right there? Okay, so we're going to have you speak kind of loud and with your lips close to the mic so people can hear. And if you'll say your name and where you live, and then I'll take the mic back and we'll start answering questions.
I'm Mary Bruner, and I live at Prairie Homestead.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm Merle Horner, moved to Prairie Homestead from basically Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And I'm his wife, Patty Horner. I moved with him from Tulsa.
I'm Trish Artisoni, and I live at Prairie Homestead.
Okay, Patricia, let's start with you. Thank you for being here. So, tell us why you made a move, or prior to moving, what appealed to you about moving into retirement living.
Because my husband was ill, and he did pass away. And he was the most wonderful man I've ever met in my life. But he was very handy, he could fix everything. I can't do that. And I felt as a widow, I wanted to move to a retirement home. We really moved about a year, his last year of life. He made the decision, and he asked me if we would like to move there. And we did, because he wanted to play cards and have fun all day, the last year of his life. And that's what he did.
Okay, and then after he passed, tell us what happened next.
Well, I was living in a retirement home on the east side, and I'm a west sider. So I had a friend that lived at Via Christi Village, McLean, and they had garages with their homes. So I talked to Betty, and I moved over there.
Okay, and she has a story to share. If you don't mind, go ahead and tell your story. Just tell what happened then, kind of the chain of events.
After I'd lived there about 7 years, I fell backwards one morning. It was Palm Sunday, and I broke my elbow. My neighbor brought me to the hospital, and it went from bad to worse. I got very ill. That whole summer I was sick, and my daughter was worried about me. She works for a living, so she don't have a lot of time. Her husband also had colon cancer, and she had a teenager in the house. So she moved me to assisted living, same place. I'm one of the statistics that a daughter is, I mean, she cares about me and I love her. I did not like assisted living. I lasted 2 years there, and I finally got the courage to find me a different place to live. And that's when I made the decision to move to Prairie Homestead. One of the reasons, it's 3 minutes from my church. And to make it short, I've been happy ever since. But it was a very hard adjustment to live in 3 different retirement homes. Now, I will not move again.
Thank you. And you didn't share with your daughter any of that because you went a good relationship and you knew she was trying to help.
She has now since lost her husband also. No, I have not shared it. I'm working up to that to explain to her about empowering seniors, and you let the parents make all their decisions. But I don't want to hurt her either.
I think that is so sweet. And that the family doesn't become fractured over it, and that love comes first. And you took your power back, and you moved from assisted to independent. Congratulations. That's what Empowering Seniors is all about. So that is a powerful, powerful story. And I think that most kids have great intentions. Most do. And but they just haven't been through this sometimes before, and they don't know what they don't know, and maybe they're thinking of it as a situation to control rather than thinking about what it feels like to be me and not making my own decisions. And so anyway, I just think that's a really good story.
May I add one thing? Sure. I'm a very prayerful person, and it was prayer that helped me make those decisions.
And you told me that you even looked at your time at assisted living positively in some ways because
I had a good rest there. I didn't have to do much. I didn't have to cook or clean. And, well, I play cards and whatever. But it was good for me because I hadn't completely recovered from my husband's death.
Well, I think that is really great. Please give her a hand. Okay, Patty and Merle. So, it's so awesome to have a couple on the panel. Thank you for being here. And if you could share, I knew about her story. I don't know your story. And we haven't worked with any of them. We didn't help them move. You've just been attending seminars for a while. And are you all new to this? Have you been to Empowered Senior before? Okay.
Just once.
Just once, okay. So they're pretty new to this, and they volunteered to come here and participate, so thank you very much. And it's just by coincidence you're all from one community, because we invited everybody. I put out a notice and made some phone calls. So what happened prior to making the move?
We had 2 garage sales. Wore me out, a broken toe. Our daughter-in-law came from Texas. She had a AFib. We had to take her to the emergency, so it was fun moving. You never know what's going to happen. But we knew we were going to move to Prairie Homestead. Merle will tell you a little bit more about his folks that lived there since 1982. So we were visiting there since 1982. So we knew the place really well. And we put our name on the list when the place was available. And then we got a call, and we knew we needed to downsize. We had good neighbors, a good church in Tulsa, and I did not really want to move yet. Probably not very many people are ready to move, but we were getting at the age, we were still in our late 70s, and, but,
And was it Merle
couple boats and he's still working on them and he likes to fish. So it's been hard for him. And I wish we'd have heard some of this that you told us earlier, because we are still downsizing. We brought too much stuff. And I've heard this from a lot of people, lots of stuff. But we did sell our house real fast, and a good deal came to move where we did. The summer we moved to 2019. I'm glad that we moved when we did, because after we'd been here a year, I had a stroke. If we had stayed where we were, I may not have made it, because it would have taken us a lot longer to get to the hospital. We'd been to a course. My husband knew just how to work with stroke victims, and got that aspirin under my tongue, and called the nurse. She was over like this. She said, "Get out front and direct the ambulance, and they'll get you to the hospital." And boy, my stroke, I was paralyzed on one side, but it was reversed within probably, what, an hour?
Well, it started to get reversed within an hour. Yeah.
So I feel that moving when we did helped me to live, and I am so thankful for that. Yeah.
The sign up there says the inside scoop. And I told the people when I saw it up there, well, if you want to know the inside scoop, get a cat.
That's a good dad.
Seriously, the cat was really quite interesting. I like to do things. I like go gold prospecting, playing racquetball. One of the guys said that his sister-in-law's cat had more kittens he could take care of, and wanted me to get one of them. I looked at it and said, "Yeah, try to get rid of it if you can, but that little ugly one there, the little runt, I'll take it if you don't get rid of it." He didn't try. But he had to take care of it for about, for 6 weeks, because I was going to Alaska for gold panning. And had fun on that. But seriously, the thing when we started to move, things moved rather rapidly. And the only thing that I would wish, if I wish anything else, was that maybe we started a couple of years or 3 years earlier. And especially like on downsizing, I've still got about 20 boxes out on the back porch that I haven't unpacked yet. But I've only been there 3 years, so. But one of the things I did, that if you have the chance, we knew what type of house we wanted, or what type of duplex, and requirements of it. When one came available, I went, while they were still working on getting it cleaned up and ready for us to move in, measured all the rooms, put in all the closet doors, all the bathroom doors, where the windows were, so that I knew what we could take and what we couldn't take. And that makes a big difference. Took pictures of all the rooms. I knew what was going to go where, so that when we moved on a U-Haul truck, and I could tell them where to take and set the items, and I knew what items we weren't going to be able to take, so that helped with that. But I was very fortunate. For about 8 years, I was teaching AARP safe driving courses, and for seniors, one of the things that I really put in more study on that was not, they just touched on it very briefly, was the indications of strokes and heart attacks. And we attended some seminars so that when Patty called me and I came around the corner. I'd get ready to go back to Oklahoma to get another load of items. And I asked her a question and she couldn't speak, but when she started opening her mouth, I just turned my back on her, went into the bathroom because I knew they had I have a pendant we were supposed to be wearing, but I knew that the bathrooms, they have them on the wall, so I just went in, pulled that, and went and got the aspirin for Patty, and because a stroke, the first minutes, especially the first 30 minutes are extremely important on getting reversed. In Oklahoma, she said she probably would have been paralyzed because they would have taken, by calling an ambulance, they would have probably taken 30 to 45 minutes before they got around to getting there. When I called the ambulance here in Wichita, they were a mile away, and by the time the nurse got over to help with Patty, and Patty said, she said to go tell the ambulance where they're going. I thought, the ambulance here already? I went out, there was the ambulance coming down the road. So in 20 minutes, she was in ICU or in emergency care and starting to get blood thinner, and that is one of the major keys. As you can tell, she doesn't have the paralysis that a lot of times would occur if a lot of time is left. So that was one of the things, but it's fortunate we were here, and the hospital was 15 minutes away. But the thing that I like about, if I was going to say on moving, our daughter-in-law came up to help, and she said, and she kept trying to tell me what to do. And she made a mistake of saying things like, well, what do you have 2 jars of honey there for? I said, because that's the way I buy them at Sam's. Well, you don't need to buy them at Sam's. You don't need, and she was wanting to get the garage sale and everything all working up. And so every time that she'd start trying to tell me what to do, I'd say, just a minute, I got to go get some more honey at Sam's. So anyway, and as you can tell, I take everything very, very seriously. The only time I really lie is that if you want to know about the big fish I catch, they're that big. I have not found the streams yet here, but for moving, I was able to take my time, and I'd write on the outside of the box, put in this room, put in that room. So when they started, the guys helped me start unload the truck, they knew what room to go to, where to put it, and that helped tremendously.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that. So do you have the cat now, that cat?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
She's the other boss in the house.
The other boss.
Patty is in the cat.
Okay, because the pets that you have, that's always a big topic too, on accommodating your pets or having the ability to get a pet later. So tell us a little bit, what caused you to make a move? What led up to that decision?
Okay, I was living in southeast Kansas with my second husband, a very good man, a very strong farmer. We lived on the oldest farm family in Bourbon County. And so when we married in '82, we thought if we have 15 good years together, we'll be very fortunate. But we ended up having 32 good years. So one of the things that I valued about his friendship and his husbandry was the fact that when we got married, I did not have children. He had 2 children. He knew that I wanted to take care of their interest in the farm. So we started planning when we got married and had the paperwork in place. Whenever one of us passed, the farm was automatically in the hands of the kids. So when he passed first in 15, the farm automatically reverted to the ownership in the hands of the children. I was left with a lifetime estate. I could still manage the farm. I could live there as long as I wanted. I could do anything with the property as long as I wanted. But about that time, it became obvious as I worked with the FFA sponsor and had young men available to help on the farm, nobody wants to work. And the ones who sign up to work don't do the job, or they don't even show up. The family that had farmed the cropland for years, because my husband worked off the farm in order to pay the taxes on the farm, that family had reached the age of retirement. So after 1 year as a widow, Bob came to me and said, Mary, I'm sorry to do it, but he said, I want to retire. So he helped me find the next man to take over the cropland. It became obvious that it wasn't going to work the way it had in the past. So I told the kids in 18, at the end of May, when they came home for Memorial Day, I said, I think I should make a move, and I want to give you 6 weeks notice, or 6 months notice. So we wanted to keep the farm in the family if at all possible. So the kids began working through the family to find the next owner. There wasn't anyone in the family, not even the son who was a Fort Hays ag graduate was willing to take on the farm. So they put the farm on the market. It takes longer to sell a farm, especially if you want to get value. And fortunately, we did find the young veterinarian's son had married a corn farmer's daughter from Iowa. They were able to make the choice to buy the farm. So, believe me, after you have raised cattle, and after you know every gully and every bump and every rock on the farm, and you've raised Labradors with you on all those trips, it's not easy to leave a farm. So when I left that farm in October of 18, I cried all the way to Wichita. But I was at home immediately when I got to Wichita, because Prairie Homestead has the background in my church affiliation. When I had my estate sale, my church family at home had benefited from that estate sale, but they handled all the physical work. And so I was very glad to turn 80% of that sale over to them. So coming home to Wichita was, in their eyes, wild, beyond imagination. I was going to be miserable, but I have not been miserable one day. I would make the move again. But with planning is so much easier.
Thank you. So I've gotten a lot out of this. It's interesting that sometimes what you think is going to happen with kids doesn't happen. We have a lot of seniors that say we want to leave our house to the kids. Well, a lot of times that's a burden. The kids don't want it. If they're living in California, why do they want a little house in Wichita? That is more work for them, because they have to get the house ready and sell it and all that. It causes lots of complications. And but I thought that was interesting that they didn't even want the farm. So
I just have a question. I'm not familiar with Prairie Homestead, where it is. Is it a continuing care retirement community? What is it?
Independent living, assisted living on campus, 1619 or 1605 West May.
And we did mention that to you at your house. Yeah. So we do talk about all the possibilities that we think might be for you to consider. And some of them you might say, oh, I'm not interested. But we always mention, because we want to make sure that we're providing you with all the possibilities, and that you maybe at least go drive by and check. But I think like at Prairie Homestead, that's when you really need to get out of the car and tour it and meet the people people that live there and see it, because it's been there a long time. If you just ride around the outside, you might not know, how nice it is. So, all right, so let's have some answers on what you enjoyed most, just quickly, what you enjoyed most about living in a retirement community setting, because I've got more questions, so this is fast answers. Okay, what do you enjoy most, Trish?
Well, I've been there almost 3 years, and what I enjoy most is playing Scrabble on Friday afternoons. And I love Scrabble.
I probably enjoy most all people that I knew before I came to Prairie Homestead. A lot of our church-related people live there, and it's just been a blessing. And a lot of people go to the church I go to live there, and so that's been a blessing, just knowing some people in advance.
I guess the thing I probably enjoy the most is that out back of the duplex where we live, somebody at one time had put in some terracing for flower gardens. The bushes and everything else I didn't care for, but for 3 years I've been changing it so I can have flowers every year. This year I'm planning for what flowers are going to be blooming next year and working out there in the flower garden.
I enjoy most the meal service and the people that provide our eating. It's excellent. We have a great staff, but eating makes you happy.
My friend Mary back there, I asked her what she is excited about moving to Bluestone about, and Mary, where are you? Where did you end up sitting, Mary Detweiler? Oh, over here. Mary, please tell them why you're excited to move to Bluestone.
Well, I won't be cooking.
Well, I won't be cooking. And she has this big smile on her face.
And I'll enjoy all my friends there.
I wish you could see her face.
And all I need is a bed and a chair.
So she has a lot of friends that live there already. One just moved in. And so she's got a huge social life waiting for her and lots of meals prepared. And she doesn't have to do that anymore. She's moving from a farm. And she's excited. She knows exactly what to expect because she's very familiar there. All right, so what are the downsides, if any, of living in a retirement community? Because we have candid conversations here, and it's about being truthful and not about selling. What are the downsides, if any, of living in a retirement community? And are there any things that are hard to deal with in your current lifestyle?
I suppose if I was honest, I had not thought about the fact that I would soon face death, even though I was living in an independent community. And within 3 weeks after I had moved in, I had witnessed a couple losing a very important part of their life.
So thank you for sharing that. Meryl, what's not good?
The kitchen is I won't say what I call the kitchen anyway. Anytime I can stand in the kitchen and touch both counters, standing in the middle of this floor. I enjoy cooking, and there's just not enough room to cook.
Okay, in your particular apartment. Okay, so maybe you would prefer a floor plan that had more room to cook.
Well, I miss our kids. They both wanted us to come. We have a son and family that lives in Hawaii, Honolulu. And but we didn't want to go there. And then we have one in Lower Texas, and they really wanted us to come there and live. But we knew in our mind that we wanted to go to Prairie Homestead because that's where his folks lived, and we loved it and knew that we could move from our independent living to the assisted living, and then we're close to the nursing home too, so we'd be cared for. But I miss the kids, but I'm glad we didn't move to either of their homes.
Well, I'm sure everyone is wondering why you would not go to Hawaii, but
I know.
Prairie Homestead is better than Hawaii, so write that down. They visited, okay. Trish? What do you not like?
What do I not like? Well, being married to an Air Force man,
Oh, put the mic up to your lips. Say, what do
we
you-
moved 28 times while we were married. And I learned, being a military spouse, how to adjust. And that's what I had to do with Prairie Homestead and the small kitchen. I had to adjust. And when you've lived in that many different places, I try to live the best I can each day. And I did have the privilege of 3 years living in Hawaii. We were stationed there at Hickman. So I have that good memory. But I've adjusted after 3 years to Prairie Homestead. There's not much I don't like there.
All right, anything we should have asked you? So anything else you want to add that's going to be relevant here, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So before they start asking all the questions, what do you think they should know?
Well, the reason I live at Prairie Homestead is I'm 3 minutes away from my church. Because that's a big part of my life.
Patty? What do they need to know?
I think what you need to know most is move while you're able and can make the move while you still have some help.
And it's nice to move as a couple if you can, so that's over with. So a lot of times we have a husband that a husband a lot of times wants to help the wife because she's having some challenges, and so he wants to be good to her and help her move. Sometimes we have a wife that's like, you, my God, goodness, are gonna do this with me. Or people that are just planning well ahead and they want to enjoy that time together and get their mature life tasks in their home completed and move on together. And one of the most loving things you can do for your spouse is go through that process with them so it's done. So they don't have to do it alone with the kids, or maybe you don't have kids or the kids aren't around. So getting it done and providing them with a place where they're going to be good. So that if something happens to you, they're going to be okay. Because it's hard enough to lose a spouse than to be left with all of the work and tasks to do and picking a place and all of that. So what else, what piece of advice do you have them? Then we're going to have them start asking questions.
Well, the only thing after 63 years of marriage that I knew that historically men don't live as long as their spouse does, and I wanted her to be someplace where she'd be taken care of and know people. So.
Thank you, Mom.
And another way to make sure that you get to know people is to have a small puppy dog. I can go any place on campus and they'll say, "Oh, hi, Chloe." Chloe. They don't remember his name, but they talk to him, and then eventually they get around and say, "Oh, Mary, you too?"
How about that? That's a pro tip right there. Have a cute puppy to draw in your new friends. All right, let's ask some questions or comments. Judy?
I have
Stand or sit, whatever you'd like to do.
we live in Oxford, Delta, and my advice is to plan ahead. We started looking a year and a half to 2 years, and decided that was the place for us. And then our house sold in 2 days, but we had already, over that period of 2 years, started downsizing. Don't try and take everything you own with you. And we did everything we own is in our 1,200 square foot apartment. And we have plenty of room, and we do all of our own cooking, and we love it there. And don't be afraid to hire an estate sale person. Make sure they're reliable. That they come in, they stage stuff, they sort things, and we weren't porters or anything, but it took a huge load off of us. And hire professional movers. I see people all the time where we live, their kids are moving them in, and it takes days and hours. Our stuff was in our house within a little over 2 hours. And they just get it quick, and so don't be afraid to hire some things done. And yes, it's more expensive, but it's worth every penny.
And let's face it, how old are your kids? They'd rather hire some guys, you know? So they probably shouldn't be carrying all that stuff either. And it's disruptive to the community if it's taking inexperienced people, taking hours and hours. And so if you hire a professional moving company, they can have you in there in 2 hours. If you have a move manager, they're gonna unpack you, put everything away, take the packing paper and the boxes away, everything is done, and you won't have 20 boxes still to go through, we hope. We'll leave them for you if you want, but we're gonna do everything. We're gonna use all of our clarifying questions and coaching questions and everything we've got to make sure that we're helping you make good decisions so you don't have more work for yourself and you don't have that stuff waiting around. All right, who else has a question or comment?
There are two things I'd like to say. One is plan yourself. Don't let an event plan for you. We're all at an age where events can plan for you. So don't take that risk. The other thing I want to say is we went all over the area looking at different independent living places. There are waiting lists out there all over the place. When you decide to move, there may not be a place for you to move to. So get your name on waiting lists where you want to move and start planning.
Excellent. If you think about how much thought is put into where your children are going to go to preschool and where a child is going to go to college, I think you deserve that much thought into your own life and making your third act as good as it can be. Mindy, host of the upcoming Ageless Enthusiasm, which is an offshoot of Empowering Seniors.
And you interviewed me on your show, and I'd just like to weigh in as a go-to kid, a little bit of my perspective from this age point. So when my dad made the decision to start looking, we interviewed places all over town. It was his decision. He ended up at Larksfield, and I'm out west too. I'm very close to Oxford Villa. What I learned in that, he was 26 miles round trip from my house. And I was the go-to kid, so I was the one taking him to the doctor appointments, the haircut, the dentist, all those things, physical therapy. So, and I own a company, have kids of my own, grandkids. What I learned from that was I've told my 3 adult children, put me where I'm convenient for you. Because like on the end, she said she was very flexible. I'm going to be very adaptable. I can be happy if I don't get my own way. I would much rather be somewhere where I can see my kids for 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, than once a week for an hour. So that's what I learned. Also, in the moving process, make sure your adult kids get along, which we do, my brother and I do, but he's on a different energy level than me. And it was just, we were dragging out, we were getting so close to that closing date with the estate sale. And he was staying in our dad's home, in the family home. and he would just condense the rooms and just move the piles. And I walked in, and we were closing the next day, and I said, it is never too early to panic. we are closing. We ended up dragging everything that didn't sell, that couldn't be repurposed, that we didn't donate, to the curb, and we paid the trash truck $50 to come and take it. And it was a huge, huge area. So just a few things to think about. Make sure your wishes are known for your kids so that they don't get crosswise in the process, because my job was to make sure it was an easy transition for my dad. And my brother and I are still on speaking terms. So it all ended well. So thank you.
How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 8.
Wow.
8 grandchildren. So I'm already priming them. The oldest one is getting close to learning how to make a good cocktail.
Okay, great job. All right, so if your kids have 8 grandkids of their own, a career, all kinds of things that they're doing, it's very hard for them to help you. And a lot of them are willing, and they will do what you ask them to do. Now, some seniors are upset because their kids won't help it, but I just want you to understand from your kids' perspective that they're very busy too, and that you can get help for everyone involved. You can hire a moving truck company to do the heavy lifting. You can have a move management company that helps you so you don't have stuff on the curb that's just going to the trash when maybe it could have, been taken care of ahead of time. That's another reason why, to make sure you have everything figured out ahead of time so the closing date isn't causing panic. And okay, who else has a question or comment? I love this. Thank you.
One of our daughters-in-law had a suggestion for us that we put a jar or a box or something, and we let the kids know, if you want something, you put your name and a date on that item and put it in that box. And first come, first served. One of the things that I think many people will find out is that your kids don't want squat. So all of these things that you think that the kids might want, if you really believe that, you're going to be terribly surprised. So, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
2 things.
Thank you. So a lot of times you're going to find out the kids don't want squat because guess what? They can find all their own stuff. Okay, they had a wedding shower and baby showers and on for decades themselves. So they have their own problems with stuff. And sometimes the great grandkids are just not ready for things yet. So as a family, you kind of think about what you can do to help with that. Who else has a question or a comment? Thank you.
I learned something someone once told me was similar to giving stuff away now, was that she went ahead and said, like, with all my jewelry and stuff, that my girls can have it now. Go ahead and get rid of the stuff that you want to give to your children, and if they want to accept it. And then it makes the move so much easier. You can already give away your stuff that you want to give away. And that way, if something happens, there's not going to be squabbles over that stuff later on.
Okay. Very good. So if you give it away ahead of time, you can see them enjoy it, and there won't be squabbles over it later. It's already done. Anybody else have something right now? All right, I'm going to ask a question. Anyone can answer. If you live in retirement living right now, did you have difficulty maintaining your relationships outside of the community? How well are you able to stay involved with the friends that you had before you moved? And did any of them question your move? Does anyone have any input on that? What their friends thought about them moving?
Well, I moved from the west side to the east side, and I was very active in my church. I have a tremendous amount of friends. I do Bible study. I just work at St. Francis Hospital, And I just did all these things, and I moved over here on the east side. And I'm missing all my friends. And I really thought that I really liked the place that I'm living in. It's a beautiful place. It's by the convent. And there's nothing to do there. And with the gas, the way the gas is now, it's kind of hard to go clear over on the west side. So therefore, I don't do Bible study no more. I don't go to my regular church that I was active in. And all these things really depresses me. So therefore, I'm moving back to the west side. Don't get me wrong, I really love where I'm at. The nuns built this place. It's on Bluffview. It's a beautiful place. And I love it there, and I love everybody in it. But I have to go back home. So I'll have to find me a place. I'm moving in with my daughter for right now, and we'll be fine. We get along really good. My son and my other daughter are so proud of me to move back where I need to be. And but anyway, that's it.
Awesome. So sometimes people figure out when they move that maybe it's not the right place, and guess what? You can move again. You can move out of assisted living into independent. You can move out of where you're at, maybe to your daughter's house or something altogether different. You can buy a place. So that's what you're going to do. Okay, so that's what they're going to do. So making your downsizing move is just one step, and it makes the next move easier should you move again. And so it's not permanent. So sometimes people think about this so hard and they think, oh, this is the end. Or your kids think, I don't know why mom's going to move there. I guess she thinks she's going to die. So it's not about, it's about we're going someplace to live and to thrive. And it doesn't have to be permanent. But making that first downsizing move is the hardest part. That's biggie. Do you feel like you're a tenant, or do you feel like you're part of a community? So if you have something to add from all of this discussion, but that's a question too.
Yeah. When it comes to feeling that we moved away from everybody, between cell phones, Zoom, and the various other things, the way of communication, no. Like I tell people, I moved to Wichita. I've got my brother and my sister living here, but I came in spite of them. I don't feel like it's a problem because we still have contact with everybody else.
Okay, thank you. And do you have something down there?
You asked how we felt.
Yeah, do you feel like you're a tenant, or do you feel like you're part of a community?
No, we're part of the community. Definitely.
Trish says definitely. Okay. Do you have any last word, Patricia, or something to add? And you said you definitely feel like you're part of the community, not like a renter.
Yes. Okay. I'd like to add, on the 4th of July, we're going to have an open house at Perry Homestead. We honor our veterans. We have a parade, which is unbelievable. The drug major last year, he conducted that parade with the poison. So we do have a lot of fun. And if you're wanting to come and visit, you do have to call for a reservation because they're preparing a cookout also. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Patty, do you have a last word, last piece of wisdom or comment?
Well, I love where I am, and I'm glad that we moved when we did. Like I told you earlier, do it while your health is so you can move. And I think most all the communities that are represented have all kinds of activities and exercising equipment and good food and just good people to visit with. You'll never be lonely.
Very good. Well, I think they did a great job. Let's give them a big hand. Someone else help them. And we'll let you go back to your seats. We'll do a quick debrief. Brian, could you run through the slides? Thank you. Bretta is handing out questionnaires. Questionnaires really help us. So if you could grade our effort today and give us comments today, that would be great. Thank you again for the panel. We're still going to have time to do a little more discussion, but I just want to cover a couple things. All of these people moved voluntarily. The unhappy people, 99.9% of the time, are the ones that felt they did not have a choice. They were told, coerced, cajoled, or guilted into making a move, and then they can become very angry and resentful of it. And so it's really important that you spread the word that people need to make their own decisions, and that you work to make your own decisions ahead of time. And then, if you're taking notes, I'd like you to write the word facility down. Facility, like a senior living facility, a rehabilitation facility. And cross that word out with a great big X. And remove it from your vocabulary. And remember the word community, because that's where people want to live. They're not facilities. There's an acronym for a skilled nursing facility. It's called a SNF. That's what nurses call it, a SNF. Who would want to live in a SNF facility? Probably not. All right. So your actions, think about what your action items are, what your ahas are, and plan for where you want to live should that might be a prudent or necessary move at some time. Please leave your evaluations. And while you're able, just do your due diligence in advance and visit these communities in advance and think through things. Kind of make it fun. And figure out what you might like to do. You could be on a waiting list. That doesn't even mean you're moving, but you could be on a waiting list just in case and work your way up to the top of that list. All right, who has some ahas or comments today? Did you hear something that was powerful for you?
I just wanted you to make sure you knew that everybody knows when the Downsizers Club is.
Okay, Dee is reminding us that Downsizers Club is the first Tuesday of every month. It's at the new PBS headquarters at K96 and Rock Road, and it's from 2 to 3 p.m., and we'd love to answer questions about that. You're welcome to come up and take a look at the materials that we've put out. Bretta worked on a 65-page report for today. It's incredible material, giving us averages of what cost of living there are, and just starting to do our homework on all these different communities so that we can start putting all this information on our blog. So you're welcome to take a look at what we've been working on. Did you learn anything today? Did you hear something that sunk in a little bit that you might share with somebody else?
Move while you're able.
Move while you're able. Okay.
Oh, it's probably y'all.
Okay.
My favorite thing was don't let an event plan for you.
Don't let an event plan from you.
Yes, that was the best advice ever.
Very good. Thank you, Charles, for that. All right, what did you write down today that was useful?
Community.
Community, okay. And questions. Be sure that you're thinking about all the questions that you would have should you go visit these communities. And they're there to answer all the questions for you. And you want to think about not only what you want today, maybe you want a two-part garage today, but ask about things for the future too, like maybe about the exercise and the social life. And maybe try the food there. Talk to some of the residents there. Des, do you have some ideas on what are good questions for people to ask when they visit a community?
If there's a pet policy.
If there's a pet policy, so that could be really important. You might not have a pet now, but you might want one in the future. Or you have pets now and you want to find out where you can take them and where you might not be able to take them. What about the idea of visiting communities? Have you ever heard the idea, just pop in on and that way you'll get to see what it's really like? Have you heard that? Yes. Okay. Don't do that. Okay? It is what it is, and they're not gonna be like rebuilding the place before you get there. All right, you want to be greeted and have somebody there that can actually answer your questions. And you want to make an appointment in advance. That way they're expecting you and they have things ready and available to show you, and that maybe they have residents for you to meet, or they might like to invite you to eat there or something, or to see a social event. So you just aren't going to get the best impression if you don't set an appointment, because they're just not going to be available. They are so busy. Is that true? Are you busy?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're super busy. So don't do pop in, call them.
You got security clearance.
Oh, and secured entrance. And so that's a big thing with even 55 plus or rentals, is what's the security like? And what kind of security do they have there? And that's a great point. Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else? I think that we're ending on time, which is great. Last month we went way over. And Club Parkinson's is here for the pole walking. The last training of the summer. Could you guys walk back and forth with the poles? Okay, check these things out. These are awesome. This is a full body exercise. Helps your posture. There's so many benefits to it. We've done a television episode on it. But you can learn how to walk with these. These can later on be used for other purposes, maybe help with your mobility. So there's a lot you can do to improve mobility with them, keep your mobility, and just great exercise. If you've heard it's good to walk, well, this is Walking Plus, because it's working your whole body. They have a training June 16th. It's Thursday, Sedgwick County Park, 8:30 to 10 a.m. It's $50 per person, $100 for poles that you keep. And then, are you walking after every seminar while the weather's good? Okay. Thank you, Connie. Be sure to see Connie or Shannon if you have questions about the poles. All right, that's it for today. Please leave comments if you have questions, if you need us to help you locate a certain type of professional, or if you want to schedule something with us. Just visit with us or write it on your sheet and leave your evaluation sheets on the table. And enjoy the rest of June. Next month we're doing Aging in America, Changing the Narrative. And make sure you opt in to receive our emails, because we are going to invite you to a couple of extra things this month. Thank you very much for being here.